Welcome, Fedi Friends, to episode 21 of Fireside Fedi. I'm your host, Ozoned. Fireside Fedi is a show about folks within the Fediverse. If you're seeing this, you are part of the Fediverse. With me today is Osa Atoe. And correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, please, Osa. But Osa makes stunning mid-century Nigerian pottery, which is a bit outside my expertise. I know nothing about it. I'm not into pottery. I'm not into art, but I think her work is absolutely gorgeous. And I'm honored to have her on the show. She's also been in a punk band. She was a columnist for Maxim Rock and Roll magazine, and she has a degree in sociology. And I have to read this from her website. So, Osa's work represents her belief that applying combinations of indigenous wisdom and global technologies can create futuristic solutions, restoring balance and healing our social and environmental ills. Atoy's pottery manifests as symbols of idealism and provides a visual and tactile respite from violence, division, cynicism, and justice. Wow. And we're gonna get into that and talk about that. So welcome to Fireside Fedi, Osa, and how do you like to be addressed?
Osa is just fine. She, her.
See, okay, and as we were talking about earlier, not queen of the pottery or.
I'll answer to anything, you know.
punk potter.
I'll answer to punk potter.
That's pretty awesome. So you got a new handle that you can go with if you want. So
that's true.
The first easy question I always start out with is, how did you get to where you are today?
I mean, it's hard to even explain. I didn't see myself ever becoming a craftsperson or an artist. That was not any type of career path that I was led to believe I could have when I was younger. I've talked a little bit about how I just really wanted to help. Like from a very young age, I was concerned with social inequality. And, looking back, I never got really great advice. I feel like if you are someone who's concerned with social injustice, you need a skill like maybe becoming a lawyer or even a teacher, something like, but I never really got that advice. I did a lot of volunteer work, a lot of community organizing. But I went to school for sociology, which is the study of social inequality, but it doesn't give you like a skill to correct social inequality. It's just like, know that it exists, you know the history, you know how it came to be. So a lot of what I was doing was just being of service. And I also had an interest in childcare. I did a lot of early childhood education and things like that. I thought maybe I would become a kindergarten teacher, something along those lines. Pottery kind of came left field for me and in a really unexpected way. And, sometimes you just have to go with the flow. There was always this kind of mentality around what I thought I should be doing as somebody who wants to see the world be a better place, a fair place, a more just place. And then there's the doors that opened up for me and led me here. And so I'm just trusting that. And I'm also just trying to use my craft to help in those ways that I always wanted to.
And it's amazing that you say it that way, because we do think that, there is a very set way to do these things, right? Like growing up, in school, you're told, like you said, be a lawyer, be a politician. This is how you change the world. And you have found a way to no one can just change the world, but we can change communities. And you found a way to bring a community together around something that you enjoy doing. So we talked briefly at the very beginning about you were in a punk band. Does that stem from your desire to see a changed world? Was that from your emotions? How did you get into that? And I'm going to show a picture.
Oh my gosh. You didn't even tell me what picture it's going to be. What picture is it?
It's Shotgun Seamstress, the complete zine collection, Osa Atoe.
Yeah.
And so this says on sale in 2022. So this was you in 2022.
Well, that's a book compilation. I can't see the picture that you're seeing, but
Right, that's true.
Cover. But that is a compilation of zines that I made starting in like 2005 or so. So yeah, I mean, I don't make the zine anymore, but I still get requests from people. That book came to be because a 16-year-old reached out to me during the pandemic and was like, I can't find your zines anywhere. And I was like, a 16-year-old cares about zines still? Like, they're not just on like Tumblr or like Instagram. They want this print thing, this Xerox copy print thing. Like, maybe they're still relevant. And I'm not in a place where I can keep up with making copies. And so, like, things happened. I got in touch with some people and I was able to publish this anthology. But going back to punk was like this thing that I was doing, and like, it was my life. It's like, it's not just like going to shows. It's not listening to music. It was like living in punk houses. Like the first house that I moved out of my parents' house was like an anarchist, like collective house in DC, in Washington, DC.
Oh.
So, it was like where like, because we were in DC, all of the like protesters would like come and like stay on our floor and like sleep all over our house. And like, that was the first place I like saw like people dumpstering and like things like that. So that was like my life. And I wasn't even an artist or like anything like that. Like, again, I was like, like dropped out of college, went back to college, like, but like really was just trying to like volunteer and like organize my community and things like that. So like that kind of went along with it. And then I was always in bands just because I love music. I've been playing violin since I was a kid. Like I learned in elementary school and stuff. So yeah, like great public education back in the 80s in Virginia. So
did you play violin in the punk band? Because that'd be awesome. You did?
I did in one of my bands. So I was in a ton of different bands. Like none of them did anything. Like there was no like we weren't trying to be big or anything like that. We would just like play. Sometimes we just played the basement. Some of my bands never even played shows. So the band that I was in that actually did stuff like go on tour was called New Bloods. And I did play violin in that band. It was like heavily inspired by bands like the Raincoats and the Slits and ESG and stuff like that. So that was kind of my first inkling that like I could be a creative person in the world and reach people in that way. Because again, it just kind of happened. Like I was playing a lot of music. None of my bands really ever did anything. I was in college, like just trying to work towards something, like kind of aimless. And, like having a band that actually went on tour and put out a record gave me an inkling that I could be a creative person. And that was like a viable path for me. And then that turned into ceramics later on, like when I was in my 30s. So it was like the punk creative band stuff that kind of showed me that I could be a creative person in the world. And then that transferred into clay.
Oh, wow.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So I have a million questions here. First off, maybe it's because I'm old. I don't know. What is a zine?
Wait, no, you should know about zines if you are old. I'm also, wait, how old are you?
I'm 44. No, I don't
I'm 46.
Okay, I don't know zines. I've never heard of a zine. What's a zine?
Okay, a zine is
I know a zune.
Wait, what's a zune?
the Microsoft Zune that came out around the same time as the iPod. I'm a nerd, right?
Okay, well, I'll explain what a zine is, and you can explain what a zune is. Sure. So yeah, zines are self-published magazines, basically. Like, okay. I think they like the earliest zines that we think of as zines are usually like geared towards something subcultural. The earliest ones were about like sci-fi, but I mean it's literally just like a like from the 30s and 40s, people were trading sci-fi self-published.
Right, okay.
At that time, it was what was the printing method at the time before Xerox? Not facsimile. I'll think of the word in a second, but yeah, it's always just been something like a subcultural, like self-published pamphlet. Yeah, made on the cheap. In the 70s, it was about punk. In the 90s, Riot Girl and like punk feminist zines became really popular. They're like cut and paste. They're Xerox copied. Yeah. I mean, it's all about just like the urgency of expression, not waiting for what you like to be acknowledged by like a mainstream publication, you're just kind of doing it yourself. So there's like tons of, I can see your wheels turning. There's tons of parallels between operating in that way, which is highly decentralized, right?
Yeah.
And what people are doing on the Fediverse.
Yeah.
So
well, and this is absolutely fascinating to me because I think there's this creativity in all of us, but at least for me, I don't know about anyone else. I look at something, and it was true with this show, where it's like, okay, it's only going to be me interested, so really there's no point in doing it. But a young Osa was like, I'm going to do this, and if people enjoy it, people enjoy it, and you did it for you. And that's,
you do it for you and your friends. Everything is really small scale. Earlier, especially like in the 90s, people would sometimes make like 10 copies of their zine or 20 copies of their zine. By the early 2000s, there were distros and, the internet was ramping up in this way where you could easily contact people from outside of your zone. And so by 2000, there was like a little bit of like an underground infrastructure. So I was probably making like, 50 at a time, 100 at a time, which we think of as still small scale. But for the zine world, that's a pretty big run, but like I said, we had the infrastructure of like, zine distros whose names I'm forgetting right now. They'll come to me. Pander was one. It was a feminist punk distro from the late 90s. So then that would help kind of spread the word, but it was still a small scale thing. And like, you never cared that it wasn't like, there was no like trying to get big off zines. Like,
well, and it's one of those things where you have a very targeted item for a targeted population, and you get to know each other through then. How many people did you like meet through your zine?
Tons. So my zine was specifically about being a Black punk because there weren't that many, and now there's a lot more, and like Afro punk has happened, and there's like a festival that happens like internationally called Afro Punk that stemmed off of a documentary called Afro Punk from 2000. So since 2000, like things have really grown and changed and shifted. But like if you were into punk rock, like in 2000 or before, you were probably like the only one in your town, or like maybe even in your state, with the exception of like places like DC, although, that's shifted. But like if you're into punk rock, about Bad Brains, obviously. There's a band from Philly before that called Pure Hell. There have been like black people in punk since the beginning, just not a lot. So yeah, I was writing to like decrease my sense of isolation as a Black punk and to kind of normalize my identity, because there is that kind of thing of like, oh, like you think you're white because you're into punk, and it's like, no, like Black people are so punk, like, like Jimi Hendrix was so punk, Nina Simone was so punk, like,
oh, I love Nina Simone. She's beautiful.
Like white people don't own punk, like, and like how can we find like how can we kind of fuse these identities in a way that's like really natural? Yeah. And so that's what my zine was about. And so that's why I felt like I had to make a lot of copies so that I could reach Black people, because I knew that most of them were going to like white punks, which was fine, but I wanted to make sure that I could contact other Black punks, and I did. And like I made a lot of friends, and like when I went on tour, I would like meet up with people, and then I would find more people to interview from going on tour, like, because you got to get out of your surroundings to like meet other Black punks. So
and that's and you're building a community from early on. You were building a community, and I mean, we do that through social media and the internet now, but like you get out and you meet people and you stay in contact and you trade zines, and no, that's great. And like I was into punk as well, but I think more mainstream punk, I guess. Against Me was probably I went and saw Against Me like 3 or 4 times, or I don't know if he's really punk, but Andrew WK, loved Andrew WK. Saw him about half a dozen times. But so you were doing the zines while you did punk. Which came first?
I mean, zines are part of punk for me. Like,
okay.
I mean, within punk, it's kind of like this ethos of like this idea of like start a band, write a zine, start a band, like do something, be involved. It's part of DIY culture, do it yourself culture. Now that's been co-opted when you go to like the store and there's like a DIY section, but like the idea was that you're putting out your own music, you're making your own zines, you're setting up your own shows. It was part of punk. It wasn't like separate.
Yeah. No, but that's you're advertising yourself through your zine, and for someone that missed the show, you would have like a summary in the zine of the last show or something like that?
My zine was a fanzine. A fanzine is like when you write about the things that you're a fan of. So I would do interviews with other bands, like Black punk rockers who were in bands. I mean, it can be personal, it can be art, it literally can be anything. It could be photography. There's people who do like punk zines of just all of their like their photography from punk shows, like really kinetic photographs with like boots in the air and people moshing and like awesome stuff like that. But yeah, I did a lot of interviews, and I would also get other people to contribute. So you could do like zines that are based on people's contributions, where it's like 20 different articles from 20 different people all over the world if you want to. I mean, Maximum Rock and Roll is kind of a example of that. Like Maximum Rock and Roll is probably one of the most like mainstream punk publications, and like they're an international publication. They're not in print anymore, they're digital now. But
I had the reason I mentioned that is because I definitely know I've heard of it. I don't know how big Maximum Rock and Roll was, but I had definitely heard of it in the past, and it kind of rang.
It's more of a hardcore scene.
Okay.
They cover all styles of punk, but
it's such a unique subculture that it for those that feel outsiders, right? You go into that and it's just your people. And when I was going to shows, folks would, when I would tell folks that I'm going to a punk show, they're like, oh, it's, sex, drugs, and just a whole bunch of people beating each other up. And it's like, well, yes, but there's also this community around it. Like I would jump into a mosh pit and I was 120 pounds and I would get thrown around. Everyone, when you fall down, everyone's there to pick you back up and throw you back in, right? They don't want you to get trampled to death because they care about people, but also the party stops, right? Nothing breaks a party up like a dead body, I think. I could be wrong. I've never had it happen. I don't want to have it happen, but so on that happy note, so how, and you have it on your website, how you kind of got into pottery. How does punk lead to pottery?
Burnout and getting old. I was just tired of my bands always breaking up, because there's nothing about punk that is, that encourages longevity. It's supposed to be like this kind of like burst of like spontaneous emotion, and like people, they move on. It's just, I don't know. I was tired of like starting over all the time. And punk is like really liberating because it's not about technique. It's not about being good at it. It's about like this primal expression. So, but I was like 30 and I was like, okay, like I'm over the hump where I need to feel not coddled, but I'm comfortable expressing myself creatively. I want to get to that point where I've practiced something, or like I'm like refining a technique, like I'm getting somewhere. Like none of my bands were like, necessarily better than the last one. It was almost just kind of like treading water, running in place. And I mean, technically you're not even supposed to care about that, right? Well, but like I got to a point where I was like, I kind of want to just break out of this. Like punk is awesome. And it was like my formative life, and it'll always be a part of who I am. But I think there's something about pottery that is way more universal. Like it's been a relief and an amazing thing to be able to like relate to my family better through clay, because when you're in a punk band, like your family doesn't understand what you're doing. They can't relate to what you're doing. They don't like it. Most people don't like it. Right. Yeah. And when you're young and you like want to be anti everything, that's great. But I think I got to a point where I was like, I would love to be able to relate to my family through my craft. And that's not what I was thinking when I did it. But like now in hindsight, I'm just glad that like my aunts and uncles have my pottery, my cousins have my pottery, my friends have my pottery. And it's like something that I can connect with them, rather than like this feeling of separation and like you'll never understand me. And like there's still that element of like how I live my life that's,
Angst.
unconventional. It's like I'm also queer. Like
It's
I don't know
kind of like you're a multidimensional human being or something.
that part.
Are you sure? That really interesting. No, and it's funny that you say that about punk, because the whole idea is anti-standard culture, right? Like you haven't found what you found in standard culture, so you kind of lash out. But then the problem is, we grow up, we get older, as you said, we start to, energy starts to fade, but also you need to start settling down and having a career and wanting a family or a place to live. And punk is, it seems to kind of it clashes with that idea, right? Like if you've made it in punk, those bands seem, right?
What does it mean? But also it's exactly like you said, there's a couple different sides at least to it. And there's like a really destructive nihilistic side. And then there's also like a side to it that is kind of like wholesome, especially coming from DC with like straight edge. Do you know what straight edge is?
I don't. Please
it's like a teen movement, like from the 80s. It was like at a hardcore where like kids didn't drink or do drugs, and that was like the DC style of punk, like Minor Threat and Fugazi, all these bands, they didn't drink or do drugs. Even like Henry from Black Flag, like in those days, he didn't drink or do drugs, right? I kind of grew up with like a pretty wholesome view of what punk was. Like it was like these kids being like, we're not going to be effed up and we're going to like read Angela Davis and like Emma Goldman and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like I moved to Portland, Oregon, and it was similar. It was like very feminist, very queer, very political. People like knew about like herbal medicine and stuff. But then I later moved to New Orleans, and it was like very much like self-destructive, nihilistic, like we don't live anywhere because we travel all the time. And I feel like that was when I was like, ooh, like this isn't like how I'm gonna grow old. Like this isn't it became a little like toxic and
you burn out fast or you find something else, right?
Yeah. And that's how I met my husband right now, and right now forever. And my current husband.
I don't know if he's watching.
We're both in that phase of like, there's probably something else. Like he's a punk skateboarder, musician, and we were both just like, cool, we did this, and now we are getting together and like kind of moving to the next phase of life,
But this is why I love talking with folks like yourself, because you look at your website, right? And we get one dimension of that. You make beautiful pottery. And it's like, okay, you're a potter, so you must have been born a potter. You've always done pottery. Like you didn't go to a traditional school. You didn't do music. You didn't do any of that. You're just a potter. And it's like, there are so many more facets to that. And before we fully get into your pottery, do you feel that without punk, your pottery would look like it does today? Do you build that kind of emotion and that kind of expression in your pottery?
That's a hard question. I mean, I guess I have to assume that everything that I've experienced up until now is the reason that my pottery looks the way it does. It's, the reason I am who I am. But it definitely feels like I'm putting in the effort to make something increasingly refined over time, which was never the goal of punk. Like refinement is not a part of punk. So like I'm striving towards proficiency, which is like, so I kind of see it as a detour more than a continuation. It's like very much life has taken a turn.
Destructive to creative to building something. Right.
I mean, in punk, I was always kind of a wholesome person. Like I like to like drink and go to shows, but I always was kind of like a nurturing figure, like, like trying to help other women feel like more confident to play shows, like booking primarily like female fronted and queer and like non-binary and trans musicians, like things like that. Like I've never been like a nihilistic person. But yeah, I just needed like a different scene. Yes.
That's one of the things that I find interesting. So the band that I probably know that most people know with punk, or you don't know at all, is Against Me. And Against Me was amazing. And then their lead singer came out as trans.
Mm-hmm.
And then the band just fell apart. It's like, so then what are you guys singing about here? Like, it seems to fit perfectly.
I never know why the band fell apart, you know?
It could be something else. Yeah. I mean, that's a difficult thing to go through and accept and whatnot. And that was like early on too with the trans folks, with when me as you know, a middle class white American male started to find out about that kind of stuff. And it's like, oh, I've seen that show, and I listened afterwards, after they came out. It's like, yeah, they're the same person. Like, it doesn't change anything for me, but they can be more who they wanted to be. And I think that's literally what punk was about, is just getting out all of your energy and being who you really wanted to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
So your pottery then, switching massive gears.
We're making our way there.
Right? Yeah. It's, I'm showing a picture of your pottery. So for those that don't know, you can go to potterybyosa.com, not sponsored or anything like that. And how did you learn this? Like, where did you learn it? Do you have a family history of it? Are you, give me everything.
I was working at a coffee shop in New Orleans to fund my lifestyle as a musician. And one of my coworkers was like, hey, this pottery studio just opened up down the street. I feel like you'd be into it. And I took a class, and I never stopped making pottery. That's the whole story.
What is it for you about pottery?
I mean, I don't know. Like I said, a lot of this is mysterious even to me. I tell that story and I'm just like, I mean, how do you explain that? Like, obviously I'm well suited for it. I love it. I've never wanted to stop doing it. I've never had a creative block around it. I've been doing it for like 12 years now. I've never felt discouraged. Part of that is punk, of like not caring that I sucked at first and just keeping on going.
So wait, when you started pottery, you didn't start out as amazing as this? You had to actually practice it?
Absolutely. And I'm still practicing. Yep. And, you know, there's a lot of amazing potters out there. Like, you know, I'm proud of my work, but I mean, there's a lot of amazing potters out there, especially like when you go back into history, my goodness, like, but yeah, I don't know how to explain why clay, or how that happened for me. It was just kind of this nudge in that direction that changed my life.
That's great. So what kind of pottery is this? It's Nigerian. It said on your page it was mid-century Nigerian pottery.
Well, I don't call my pottery mid-century Nigerian, but what I feel like I'm doing is picking back up where a certain movement kind of left off. So in the 1950s, before Nigeria became independent and we're still under colonial rule, a British potter named Michael Cardew was stationed in Abuja, Nigeria, which was already a pottery center, like a kind of, you know, regional headquarter for pottery in Nigeria. They're like well known for their ceramic legacy. And at Abuja Pottery Center, that was a location where like indigenous pottery making techniques, such as coil building, indigenous firing techniques, met Western and Eastern ceramic techniques. And so what I mean by that is like glazing. Glazing comes from the East. You know, it comes from Japan and China. Okay. And that's how the Europeans got it. And then the Europeans basically brought that to Nigeria. And so in this moment, you're seeing, you know, all of these technologies come together. And that's what I mean about the indigenous technologies and the global technologies coming together to create this new body of work. And so, you know, fast forward to 2015 or 2013, when I start making pottery, I'm not seeing the trajectory of that movement. Like, where did that go? When you learn about contemporary studio pottery in the United States, you learn about the combination of like Japanese and English tradition.
Okay. Yeah.
Those are the foundations of American studio pottery, the Japanese and British coming together, Hamada and Bernard Leach. And so you never really see where like African culture comes into it. And also there's an African American influence as well, that you really never see spoken to very much. And so as someone who's Nigerian, like obviously like I was looking for that. I was like, we have clay. Like what would it be like to bring that Nigerian, West African legacy and combine that with contemporary US studio pottery? So it's not that I feel like I'm making mid-century work. It's that there was a historical moment that I feel kind of lost momentum.
Okay.
Like I'm not aware of, you know, the trajectory since then. And it's something that I've been trying to piece together myself, like these potters. And Abuja Pottery Center actually drew potters from all over Africa. So there are people from Ghana, from I think Zambia, from other African nations that were coming here because they wanted to learn. They wanted to learn about glaze. They wanted to learn about wood firing techniques and things like that. So in my mind, I'm like, you know, what happened to that? Like, you know, where are the people who came out of that? Where are all the artists that came out of that movement? And like you can trace the roots back when you look at U.S. contemporary ceramics. You know, you can trace the roots back all the way back to Bernard Leach. Like Leach apprentices, you know, like started their own potteries, trained people. Those people started their own potteries, trained people. And those are some of my contemporaries. Like I've learned from people who are from that lineage, but like, where's our lineage?
Right. We get so caught up in, well, this is how you make it. And you're like, no, you can pull from everyone.
You can pull from everywhere.
I had to look up, rope style? Is that what it's called?
Wait,
you make
coil building.
Coil building. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So you actually take the clay, you roll it out, and then you build the pottery as that. And and a lot of people do this. This is not just West Africa. Indigenous Americans use that technique, but everybody does it slightly in their own way. I learned coil building from a South African potter. Her name is Jabu Nala. Nala is her last name, and she comes from a family of Zulu potters. And so she learned from her mom, who I think learned from her grandmother. I'm not sure, but it's been passed down through their family for like millennia. Like her. That's amazing.
I mean, that's how it used to be. Like pottery used to just be passed down through the family, and mostly like a matriarchal lineage. And you find this globally. So there's a lot of ways to coil build. But yeah, the method that I learned was from a Zulu South African potter. The Nigerian way of coil building is quite different. I mean, you get like a similar effect, but the technique itself is quite different. And some of these techniques come out of the feel of the clay. So like the quality of that local clay kind of dictates how you're going to interact with it, in a sense. So the Nigerian coil building technique works very well with their local clays, and it doesn't work quite as well with the clays that I can get here. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So we have some folks that are blind in our community. How would you describe? So I don't even know how to describe this. It's
the technique itself, or
the actual pottery itself, like the colors you use. What is like the tactile feel of it when you pick up a piece and things like that?
Okay. So I like this question. It's like verbal alt text.
Yeah. Yeah, that's literally what I'm going for. Yeah. And it's stunning, right? And it's so to be honest, it's stuff that I see in a museum. This is not like my family doesn't have history like this. This is beautiful. I call this artwork, but you know, you use it as regular pottery, right? Like it's meant to be used in the house. And it's stunning. And it's a lot of warm colors, browns and light yellows and light greens. But what does it feel like to actually hold a piece of that?
Okay. So, first of all, I'll start with the weight.
Hmm.
Because I'm making pots that I want people to not be afraid to use, I make them sturdy, but balanced. So there is a stigma against a heavy pot in Western culture. You want your pots to be kind of light as air, and so I try to find this nice balance between a nice balanced pot that isn't bottom heavy, but that feels kind of evenly sturdy throughout. So
Okay.
if you drink from one of my coffee mugs, there will be a little bit of a heft to it. It's not going to be a light as air
Like,
object. Yeah, it'll be
yeah.
a little, there's a little bit of heft to it. I my main decorating method is carving. And so I use a little tool with a tiny triangle on the end to
Oh,
create
okay. Yeah.
these lines in
Yeah.
my pots. And I glaze over those lines to kind of soften them. And so you will feel a texture. I also add little raised dots with slip, which is liquid clay. So clay blended with a, water to like a maybe a pudding-like consistency that I can squeeze through the nozzle of a tiny nozzle of a little plastic
Okay.
bottle,
Yeah.
and I apply those to the surface. So there's a little bit of like a raise, and again I glaze over those to like soften everything. So I don't want anything to be like sharp.
Right.
There is texture. So if you're a person that doesn't like to feel texture underneath your hands, you're not gonna like my pots. But I mean, it's a visual decorative element. It kind of gives a nice crisp boundaries when I use
Gorgeous.
different like surface. So I use all these different clays to decorate my surfaces. This is something I've only been doing for about a year. Before that, I relied mostly on glaze. But in the last year, I've kind of collected all of these different samples of what people call either wild clay or local clay or foraged clay.
Okay.
And we use those terms to differentiate from the clay that you would buy from the store, commercial clay. So I've been
Okay.
collecting all of these different samples from my travels, very small samples that I can collect in ways that are like respectful and ethical. And I create a really refined decorating slip called terra sigillata. So you just kind of levitate the clay, take out all the coarse particles. You're left with this really fine decorating slip that I paint into all these different sections. So going back to the carving kind of creates these patterns and like linear
Yeah.
boundaries that I then kind of decorate with all these different slips. And this terra sigillata, I don't know. Is this making sense? I just feel like I'm just going on and on and
No,
on.
no, no, no. It's yeah. So it's so if you have a jug, it has, as you said, it has a lot of tactile feel to it. There are a lot of lines
Mhm.
going in different routes, and it looks like it's art, but it's also, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's for grip too. Like it actually serves a purpose to hold it. But when you pick this up, it is not, a metallic water bottle that is smooth. It is just filled with beautiful lines, dots, the colors. These are gorgeous. I love these. So,
Thank
and
you. And then there's just also like as a functional potter, we have to balance aesthetic and function. So like I want my handles to be comfortable, like maybe like soft and smooth in
yeah,
the hand. I want the lip to be thin enough to feel comfortable. I might make the top of the vessel a little bit, the top of the coffee cup a little bit narrower and the bottom a little bit wider so that your drink kind of just stays warm in there a little bit longer. Just like different little details that make it a functional, like easy to use, pleasant to use object. And then
yeah.
on top of that, you're trying to make something that's, beautiful to the eye and special to the person who's using it.
So, at what point when you were invited to go to a pottery class and you sat down and you just immediately go, this is what I want to do with my life? Or you're like, okay, this is a fun hobby. And then it's like, I enjoy this and I think I could create a career out of it. How did that go? Because like, I'm freaking out trying to start a business. So I love to know how long have you been in business?
I've been in business for about 10 years. So it took me 2 years, which actually looking back isn't long at all, but it took me about 2 years to sell my first pot after my first class. Um, I don't know if I thought about it like I wanted to start a business. I just loved it. I think what happened with me is that I liked it so much and I was creating at such a high volume, and I would go into my friends' houses and they would have a ton of my pottery and I'd be shocked. Like, I gave you the pottery because
Right?
I was going crazy. I loved it. And so
Yeah.
because I knew that I could be prolific, I knew that I could make it
Yeah.
my living. It wasn't like I want to start a business and so now I have to make a ton of pottery. It was more the reverse, where I was taking classes.
Yeah.
And also I want to point out that in order, like, pottery can be an expensive hobby. And so, and I didn't have a lot of money at that time. I still don't have a ton of money, but I'm in a better place now. But like, I did work trade to be able to afford classes, which was actually a great thing. And I want to talk about this just in case there's anybody listening.
Yeah, please do.
This is kind of like a nice back door. Like, if you don't have, at that point, it was maybe like $250 a month to take pottery classes. And now it's probably more just because everything's more expensive.
Yeah.
And so what I did was I worked in the studio and got free class time in exchange. But the cool thing about that is I was double learning. So when you go into a pottery studio and you take a class, you don't get to know the back end. You don't know where the glaze comes from. You don't know how glaze is made. You don't know how to run a kiln. You don't know how to fire anything. But when you work in a pottery studio, you learn all that as well as what you would learn in the class. So that was actually a really pivotal step for me becoming like a studio potter who can run my own studio, because there are people who have taken ceramics classes for decades and may not have ever made a glaze because you don't have to.
Right, because it's there for you. Yeah.
There for you. Or you can buy it. You can buy it pre-made. It's a little bit more expensive, but you can. There's no real need to do it. So anyway, I just want to put that out there that, if you're a person that's interested in crafts and you can't afford the monthly lessons, ask about work trade. They might not advertise it. The studio that I was at did not advertise it. I just asked. I just cold asked, and he was like, sure, that can happen. So I don't know, just want to put that out there.
So, so someone's asking what glaze is. I mean, it's a you talk about, because it's a covering on the pottery, right? That is clear and gives it a shiny look, but also, as you said, a smooth finish, right?
Exactly. That's pretty much it. So there's the clay that is like the substance of the pot, and then the glaze is that glassy coating. And it can be shiny. Most of the time it's shiny, especially with commercial wear, like manufactured wear. It's often shiny, and shiny can be the most food safe and durable. But it can be matte. It can be satin. There's a lot of, it can be bumpy. Like, there's infinite qualities that glaze can have. And it's basically just a suspension of pulverized rocks in water. It's, you need a glass form, you need like a silica, you need a clay, and you need a flux. So the silica would be like your glass former, your clay, your alumina would be some type of clay, and then your flux would be something to help it all melt, which is like a feldspar or something like that. So
you're a chemist. You're a chemist as well.
Kind of have to be a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. Well, actually, you don't have to be. Like I said, you can just go out and buy a can of glaze, paint it on, and follow the instructions, and call it a day.
I mean, they offer, don't they offer like a spray can of glaze now too, or something like that? My mother
can, but I know that they are. No, you're right. They do have these sprays now. Yeah. But I mean, I love all facets of ceramics. So, that's just another area of ceramics that I enjoy. So.
I love this idea that you just start making pottery, and then all of a sudden you realize, not only do I have a house full of pottery, but my friends have a house full of my pottery. It's like, oh, well, I guess I'll go into business. Is that like, that's what it seems like?
Kind of. I was like, I can just keep making this stuff, and like, maybe I should sell it. And people were asking me like, why don't you sell? I don't know, like, pots have always been a commercial item, like always. Like a lot of the pots that are in the museum, unless they're sculpture, a lot of those like little vessels, they were used to, carry olive oil from point A to point B on ships. Like all those Greek amphora, they've always been a traded item. So I think they lend themselves to sales in a sense. Like, and as soon as I started making pots that looked decent, people were like, are you going to sell them? It was almost like expected in a way. So
but there has to come a point where you realize that, or maybe it's just me, that your hobby has turned into, a career. And when you're passionate about it, you don't even realize, like you said, you're already doing it. And the next step is just like, sure, I'll sell it. Why not? You want to buy it? And it's gorgeous. Yes. But on your main website, you also talk about the Cabo Clay Collective. Do you want to go into that?
Sure. Well, I mean, it almost loops back to my zine in a way. That feeling of being the only Black person and like wanting to speak to that and wanting to remedy it. Like the older you get, the more you're just like, same shit, different day, kind of like.
And you want to extend it, right? You want to help out somehow.
Like I've changed, but I haven't, Right,
yeah.
So yeah, again, it was like, no matter what I do, I somehow am like the only Black person there. With pottery, it's a lot more confusing than with punk. With punk, it's just like, okay, like I grew up with the whole idea of like white music and Black music, and that's becoming obsolete now. But like I said, I'm in my late 40s. Like that's how it was then. But with pottery, it's truly, it transcends culture and race. And so it's really disappointing that it's such a predominantly white affair in the United States. Mm-hmm. I learned in New Orleans, which is a majority Black city. But all the pottery classes that I took, I was like the only Black person there. So I was like, what am I going to do? I mean, it was kind of like, what am I going to do to remedy this for myself? But also this all came after the formation of Cabo came after the whole like 2020 Black Lives Matter, George Floyd moment when, and this is when I was still on Instagram. So I don't know if people remember the whole like Black Square thing where people were like, we're listening and learning, and, predominantly white institutions, basically admitting that they're still grappling with how to become diverse. And it felt like too little too late. It's 2020. We're supposed to be in the future. It felt like, well, if people still aren't getting it, then maybe we just need to do our own thing. Maybe we need our own resources. Maybe we need to like address our own needs. Maybe this is just something that we can't expect predominantly white organizations to address the way we need it addressed. And I still think that DIY, that DEI is necessary, but having your own organization is not DEI. It's something that can run alongside that is really empowering to me. It's more about self-determination. It's more about like defining your own needs and meeting them rather than waiting for like white people or whatever to like figure out what it is, right? Like, so basically it's a social network. And then it's a mutual aid project, we do so many things, from virtual events to in-person events. It's a cultural preservation organization where we celebrate our own legacy through the work that we make, when we're like constantly referencing our historical legacy as like African-American, Caribbean, African artists. And then we just got through with our award cycle. Well, we're in the middle of it, where we did our biggest fundraiser of the year. And that money that we raise, it's typically around $10,000 a year. We disperse it mostly to projects and initiatives by other Black potters that create access to ceramics, like free access for other Black potters. But we also just benefit individual artists who need it. So Black ceramic artists they're people. Sometimes there's that, misconception that because you can access clay, you're automatically a privileged person because it's seen as kind of this like hoity-toity, hobby, because it can be expensive. But
yes,
our constituents are all different types of people. We have queer and trans members. We have chronically ill members. We have people who just went through the hurricanes that we were talking about. I mean, if you're a Black artist in the society, you're probably like having just as hard a time as anybody. Like there's not a ton of money for the arts, in general. So it's just kind of like an extra layer of support. Like that's
Yeah.
specifically for Black artists. We don't want to get lost in the BIPOC umbrella. There's also anti-Blackness that can occur in those spaces. I just felt like it was important to have an organization that spoke to us for our own needs and like created resources based on like our own needs.
No, and it's a couple of things that stood out to me is one, like the whole idea of corporations are going to try to have DEI without actually fully understanding the culture. Like they're trying, but I will never understand what it is like to be Osa Atoy, right? And you'll never understand what it's like to be me. So you step up where you can, you create those communities where you can, and you see if it resonates. And if it doesn't resonate, you tried. And then the other part is you mentioned that you raised about $10,000 per year. And for us, yes, that's a lot of money. But, in the grand scheme of things, we're like, well, $10,000 isn't going to change anything. But to a lot of people around the world, that changes everything. Like that's a vast amount of money. And if people just, donate a little bit, it all adds up. Right?
It does. And we're like 100% grassroots. We do have 501c3, but we don't write grants as of yet. We get all of our money through our membership, through our allies, through individual donors, through the pottery sale that we do every year. And yeah, I mean, we don't make a ton of money, but what we do make, I think has been transformative. I mean, we were able to finance a free pottery training program in Nigeria that can be annual now because they have all the equipment. And we've done the same thing, but not to the same degree here in the United States because everything's more expensive. But we've used our money to get people together for like weeks-long events. We helped to finance an opportunity for Black people to get together and wood fire together, and they were together for like 2 weeks working together. And that's something that outside of this, I would never have an experience like that. Like people never get to have experiences like that. So yeah, I mean, you just do what you can, honestly. You just do what you can. Thinking about just small scale, right?
Yeah.
Like the
you
zine
change.
thing.
I mean, we look at this idea that we have to change the world. We can't. But if you change one person's life, then that person changes one person's life, and that person, it has a cascade effect. And to those people, it matters, and it still makes a difference, and they're just as valuable as the whole world. Like we can't do it overnight, but one person at a time, and that's amazing. Absolutely love it. Paul G asked in the chat if you could talk more about wild/forged clay.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's only a novelty because everything is so commercialized here in the States. The more that I look into it, the more I realize that this is just how it's done like almost everywhere else. If you go to a lot of different countries, potters still have to collect and process all of their own materials. It's just that we're in the United States and everything comes in a plastic bag or in a plastic jar. And I mean, I'm not gonna bemoan that because it makes it easy. It makes it easy. Like what we have in the United States is a ceramic industry that panders to the hobbyist. So it's almost like easy bake oven. Like you just get the bottle, you follow the instructions, you just do it, you put it in the kiln. It's like you press some buttons, you turn it on. That's it.
This is what it's supposed to look like, right? Sure.
And so, but like traditionally, you're forging your own materials, which we call wild clay, and it's a wild clay movement because, it's just like calling vegetables that are grown without chemicals organic.
Yeah.
And then like the ones with pesticides are conventional, right?
Well,
it's the same thing. It's like eye rolly, like some people hate the term wild clay.
Well, it's a product of our time because, like you said, you're not going to the store. But it when you say wild clay, it's like I'm going out into the woods and I'm hunting down clay and I'm using a spear. And it's like, no, it's not that either. I mean, I'm in North Carolina. All of our ground is pretty much clay, right? And I don't know if you can use that as the same way, but you could use it in a way. And that is my property is wild clay.
Yeah, there's a ton of pottery communities in North Carolina for that reason. because there's just so much available clay. It's like some of the most amazing potters in contemporary ceramics are in North Carolina because you guys have access to all of that clay. So it's actually not novel at all, but then for us it is, right?
Yep.
And then, I mean, just going back to like how we've all been groomed to be consumers.
Yep.
There's just this thing of like, figuring out that you can eat weeds,
Yeah.
like that weeds are medicine, figuring out that you look down, you're like, that's usable clay. Yeah. For me, it's been personally transformative, right? Like I like to go to the woods. I love nature. I never really thought about dirt before. Now I think about that. Like, we normally think about plants and animals and birds, but like the earth under our feet is huge, right? And it's like at the age of in my 40s, I'm like finally seeing this with new eyes. So for me, it's been personally transformative, and it's just been a huge deal. Like it just feels very romantic and beautiful to connect with the earth in that way, and like to have a tangible way to connect with the earth. And then it also has to do a lot with like memories of like my travels and going to Puerto Rico with my husband on his 40th birthday and like finding clay on the beach. Like that's so sentimental and sweet. And like, so yeah, it just adds a layer of meaning to my work. But at the same time, I roll like everyone's been doing this for millennia.
No, right. And that's the funny thing about it too. We're like, oh, this is amazing. And it's like, since the dawn of mankind, this is like one of the main things. But again, because we are a product of our time, it is so outside the normal. Like I said, like your pottery looks like something I've only ever seen in a museum, and it's gorgeous, and it used to be everywhere. And now, I've Corel dishes, which you just go to Walmart or whatever, buy a pack, and you throw them in your cupboard, and then your stuff is art. But it's not just art; it's to be used, and it is gorgeous, and I love it. Clay is earth. The other one, I wasn't certain with this one, Harry Bow, which from Gamers Tavern Online, which we were talking about, or which we were kind of conversing on the Fediverse earlier, asked you to have a conversation about Unidos.
I don't have a lot of information about Unidos now. They contacted me. So I moved to Sarasota, Florida in 2020. And it's just been a journey of connecting with people. I mean, everybody, like Florida is notorious, obviously. Like everybody has their opinion of like what Florida is. I'm glad I came to Sarasota without a lot of those preconceived notions, because they haven't been true for me. I've been able to connect with a ton of amazing like community organizations and like social justice orgs that are just like trying to fight this stuff and keep each other alive. And Unidos now is one of those. So I feel like what's been happening is I have just worked really hard to make these community connections. I do a lot of like youth programming with Black youth in Sarasota to teach them our history in clay. And so I think that's what kind of brought Unidos now into my circle. And what they requested from me was, they do a lot of work with families. They do a lot of guidance around education and educational opportunities. And of course, like they're working with the Latinx/Hispanic community in Sarasota and Manatee counties, the next county up. And so because of all of these new crackdowns on undocumented immigrants, I mean, it's just been very, very stressful, and their community has obviously been impacted. And, it's like, the idea of like basically like being a social worker, but not having the resources. Like they're hemmed in. There's only so much they can do. There's only so much they can assist. And it's very demoralizing and hard and stressful and sad. And there's a lot of grief. And so the executive director called on me to kind of do like a wellness event for her staff. And now we did that, and it was wonderful. And now they're kind of wanting to extend that to their families as well. So like parents and kids to be able to access that. And it's just been awesome because, it's like a really common thought when shit's hitting the fan politically and you're just making pots, you're just like, what am I
But
doing here? Like, my proclivity to like want to help. And so
right.
when people come out of the community and say, actually, like the skill that you have is needed right now. And it might not be like on a legislative level changing something, but maybe
Right.
it's just kind of like helping people continue on, right?
Well,
Um,
it's connecting with humanity. Again, those connections are what matter, right?
right.
And
Absolutely.
that's okay. So what did they have you do? Where did you do like a pottery
I mean, I led
workshop
a
or?
workshop for, yeah, I led a
Okay.
workshop for the staff. It took place at the executive director's home. She lives in this part of our region that's a little bit woodsy, and she's got like a pond by her house with like geese and stuff like that. So, and it was in the spring before it got dreadfully hot the way it is now. So it was just a really beautiful, kind of like restorative moment.
Yeah. No, and one of the community members said, it's deep. Stop. I have a tear in my eye, and it's beautiful. Like we've gotten so cynical about about politics in corporate America, and like, and as soon as you said that you did a workshop with them and it was at her house, my only thought was like, when my company is happy with me, it's like, here's a pizza party, yay.
I mean, I
And
thought it was a really cool way to just be mindful. I mean, I have a lot of respect for the ED of like prioritizing her staff's mental wellness
yeah,
during a time like this.
and it's not just they're people. First off, right, we're gonna they're people that just want to make a living and a better life for themselves, but it's not just them. I have a friend who's Asian. He's been here since he was 14 years old. He always got, he's always had his green card. He's never become a full-time citizen because he's like, why? And now he's actually very concerned about it. He's, especially with what's going on, but it affects everyone.
It does.
Most likely, someone that might be concerned, and we just need to bring back that humanity and that compassion, and having those together moments to just stop. Let's put all the rest of it aside for a minute. Let's focus here. And you bring people together with that. Speaking of bringing people together, so you had said that you were only on the Fediverse for 5 months so far, and it's you are a lightning rod. It seems like you really resonate with people. How do you feel about that? What do you do to make that happen? Do you do anything to, just being a good human, folks find you, or what?
All right. Well, this is my opportunity to shout out the real reason that I got traction on the Fedi was because of Ken Swinson. You should follow Kentucky. He's a potter who was following me on Instagram. And then I, deleted my Instagram. Well, actually, no, I came over to the Fedi first just to check it out. And then I finally, like after a month or so, I deleted it. But he gave me a really nice intro, and a lot of people who followed him followed me, and then the retweets and the boosts and all the stuff. And yeah. Also, I mean, there's not a lot of potters on the Fedi compared to the other apps that are more like visual and video based. So there's that. But yeah, that's kind of how that all happened. It wasn't just me. It was like being welcomed into the community.
I'm trying to find his. Is that him? Indie Social Web?
Swinson. Swinson is his last name. Ken Swinson. K-E-N.
Yeah. Here
Him.
I have him right here. So it seems like you've had a positive time on the Fediverse coming over. Do you enjoy it? Do you feel that sense of community?
I mean, it's getting there. Like, this is the thing with the Fediverse that I'm not quite used to is the anonymity.
Oh, interesting. Really?
Right. Like on other platforms, especially Instagram, it's so much more about the individual. There's a lot more selfies and things like that. Yeah. And on Mastodon, there seems to be a lot more like anonymous profile avatars and things like that. Okay. But sometimes I kind of like that. I don't know. I can see it both ways. But yeah, I'm getting there. It's just like I'm just like trying to interact with a lot of people, and I follow the gardening hashtag. And so those aren't people that I follow. So I'm always getting a lot of like random posts from people I don't follow about like how their garden's doing, which I really enjoy. And so yeah, in that way, it's just kind of like talking to random people that you may or may not talk to again. Right.
Well, it's such a great way to build a community without knowing. Like you said, you just follow a hashtag and you're getting, here's how my baby carrots are doing today. And it's like, wow, that's just nice and relaxing. You don't have to worry about the politics or what kind of shit is happening this morning. You just
Oh, well, I have my what do you call it? What is it? Where you why can't I think of it? Where you like the list of terms that you don't want to see.
Oh yeah, filter. You
Yes,
have like
filters all hooked up. Like
Yeah,
I'm trying to have the experience that I want to have on there. Like I want to read the news, but I don't need like everybody's doom and gloom.
No,
that's pervasive. That's not Mastodon. That's like every social
everywhere.
Media.
We're always good. And Ken's stuff it's again, someone that's never been into pottery that has no idea. His stuff is gorgeous in a completely different way.
Totally.
It's beautiful.
And he's a screen printer, I believe.
Yeah.
So he merges those. So he's got like amazing 2D skills that he can apply to the pottery, which is really cool.
This is great.
But yeah.
I know some people I'm following now for nice relaxation, looking at beautiful art.
Mm-hmm.
This is incredible. So, Osa, how can people, so before I actually ask that, what is your idea of success?
I mean, I consider myself a spiritual person, and I am very concerned with the feeling of peace and alignment. So that feeling of kind of being, I don't know, I have this experience of feeling like I've been guided through life. Like that moment at the coffee shop that I can't explain, and how that kind of like led me to the right place. Mm-hmm. Because I really do feel like this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And I didn't know that. And I had no like inkling mm-hmm. that it would be here. So just kind of tapping into that feeling of alignment, of like going with the flow of what's working. I don't know.
Being one with the universe and just going for the ride.
I mean, I'm trying.
It comes out beautiful.
Our egos get in the way because we think we know better, right? Like, I mean, for the longest time, I was like, I want to be an activist. I want to do this. And it's like life was not. I mean, I volunteered in an organization for like years, and they never really drew me in.
Yep.
There was never a place for me to like be employed or anything like that.
Yeah.
It just didn't.
Well, and everyone wants to help in some way, right? And what does that look like? And it's not until we're older that we realize it looks like anything. It's anything you want to make it, as long as you're actively trying to help people in any shape or form.
Whatever that is. There needs to be all different methods. It can't just be the same for everybody.
Absolutely. It takes all kinds.
Yeah.
We need all kinds of people. So what can folks do to help you, to help, your nonprofit? Where would you see you want people to help you attain whatever it is you want to attain?
I don't know, honestly. I think that everything's going great. Like just the opportunity to interact and connect. So as a potter, my work only has meaning when it connects with somebody. So if I can make an urn for someone's deceased loved one, or make somebody's like favorite mug that they, or that they, that was gifted to them by their sister, or, going out into the community and like working on clay with other people, like that actually gives what I do meaning. So just like let's keep interacting, keep communicating,
connections, community.
I don't know. I just like the feeling of, like leaving Instagram. It's like Instagram is totally a sales platform at this point.
Oh, yeah.
And Mastodon for me is like, yeah, I need to sell work to make a living, but like, I don't feel like being overtly salesy all the time. I really just love what I do, and I want to share that with people. And if people feel inspired by it, then that's helpful. That's helpful to me.
No,
I don't
and
know.
you give a piece of yourself in every item that you do, and I can see that you find value. It might be one thing, right, like you said, but if you know someone is cherishing that, that makes a difference. That means the world to you.
And that creates meaning around what I do. It's not just for me. It's meant to be shared. It's meant to create a connection. So
that's beautiful. I love it. Oh, geez. So now for the real reason I asked Osa here.
Oh, I forgot about the quiz.
Is to give her an opportunity to win a prize of a lifetime. Our prize today is my children's air dry clay, as they don't really play with it anymore. I thought about getting you, I don't even know.
Wait, you're gonna send me like air dry clay in the mail?
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
You didn't tell me about a prize.
Yeah, well, a prize. thought about we thought about buying you all the clay in a star system, but it was kind of far out there, so we decided not to do that. You ready for the quiz?
I think so.
All right. Favorite movie, and why is it Spaceballs?
Oh my god.
I'm not biased at all. I just ask the questions that I have to ask, and it has to be Spaceballs. But what is your favorite movie?
Man, that's a hard question. I don't really have a favorite movie, but lately we have been going down like a 90s wormhole. And there have been amazing, like you mentioned Spaceballs, and we rewatched Wayne's World recently, and I was like shocked at how good it was. I thought it was going to be bad. It's actually a really good movie. But
I was just talking to people last night about it. Wayne's World's brilliant. I said, and everyone got so upset. I said it's Mike Meyer and Dana Carvey's best movie. And they're like, really? What about Austin Powers? And I was like, Austin Powers is good, but it's a bunch of dick and fart jokes, right? Like, it's fun. But Wayne's World, I love Wayne's World. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. All right. Well, but I was gonna say that there's some lesser known 90s movies. There's this one called Girls Town that's about a bunch of women getting revenge on their like bad boyfriends and people who who have victimized them, and Lily Taylor's in it. I want to go back and watch that. I've been thinking about that lately.
Okay.
Like Queen Latifah is on the soundtrack.
Oh wow! 1996. So Queen Latifah.
Yeah. A bunch of lady rappers on the soundtrack.
Awesome. Okay, next question: Dropkick Murphys, Against Me, or Rancid?
Probably Rancid if I have to pick. I mean, just because they're like probably the ones I'm like the most familiar with. Rancid was honestly, they were on the radio when I was a kid.
Yeah, right?
Like,
yeah.
People were like, how did you get into punk? And I'm like, in the 90s, like punk was on the radio. It was like on stream radio. Like,
well, it's funny because like I remember the one thing that all three of those I listened to actively, but that's ska. Like there's so many people that I know that are like, what is ska? And I was like, you're old enough. You don't remember the summer of ska? Like ska was all over the radio for like 3 months and then it disappeared forever.
Yeah, like the late 90s.
Yeah.
There was like that weird swing revival. Late 90s were a mess.
Yeah, Big Bad Voodoo Daddies.
We just didn't know what to do.
We were experimenting with everything then. Yeah. So, favorite type of weather?
Gosh, I have a couple kinds. I actually, call me crazy, but I really do like storm season here in Florida. It's just really beautifully dramatic. We live like by the bay and the ocean. And like when you go out there and you can see like lightning in the clouds and like you can see like offshore rain showers, it's just really cool.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was going to narrow that question down more to like, do you like sunny or do you like rainy? Because there's something like right now outside, it's super humid where I'm at. I've actually been sweating because it's so hot. But like when you get that nice, spring rain that just brings it all down and you get that nice patter on the window. Yeah, I agree.
I mean, we're full sun like all the time. So
yeah, you're in Florida.
So I'm just like, yeah, I mean, I love it warm. I love tropical weather, but like, I don't know. I like the drama of clouds. I lived in the Pacific Northwest for a little while. So
No, and I lived in Northeast Ohio originally, and it was overcast like 80 to 90% of the year, and I'm just like, I'm constantly amazed by the clear blue skies. But yeah, there's just something nice, a nice change at this point for me.
Yeah.
So next question is, what does an alternate universe OSA do?
Wait, what do you mean? Like me on another timeline?
Yes.
I mean, anything, right? Because there's like infinite timelines.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think an alternate universe OSA does?
Just like slightly adjacent, like I became a glass artist.
Whatever you want. Whatever you want.
Slight tweak.
OSA, I don't know if you realize the quiz is not that serious. Whatever you want to say is fine.
Alternate universe, OSA, different timeline. I'm a glass artist that moved to Alaska.
Oh, why Alaska? Why Alaska? Why not Alaska?
Because you said it's not serious, so I just pulled something out.
All right. Okay. Well, I have a very magic phone. It's very technical. It's an alternate universe phone. Don't ask how it works. It works perfectly well. It's very technical. And I reached out to an alternate universe OSA, and she said she loves to spin records, but she still loves clay. So she invented clay DJing, and just the clay goes everywhere, but it's also musical, and she created a whole new genre, and we wish alternate universe OSA best of luck with her clay DJ.
That's just a mild tweak because I have a ton of vinyl records.
Do you?
I'm not a DJ. Oh yeah.
Okay, I have to.
A vinyl record collection. I got that from him, and then also they used to be cheaper.
Now they're ridiculous.
It's like record or CD. The CD was always more expensive, so I have all this vinyl.
Which do you think sounds better?
I mean, I think records. Okay, it's not even just about sound. CDs are trash. They skip. They're like little shitty pieces of plastic. I hate them.
More plastic.
I would rather stream, or I'd rather like listen to an MP3 than a CD.
Well, and it's become cultural to kind of do records now. I don't remember what it was. I saw something. I think it was a video game or something, and it was like, yeah, buy our record. I'm like, oh, people are buying records. How much? It was $60 for a record. I'm like, no, man, I don't even have a player. I like your game.
That's steep.
Yeah, $60.
It used to be like $8, $10.
Right.
You know?
Cassette
and
tapes.
And the thrift store, 25 cents.
Oh,
you know?
Everywhere. Next question. Rock and roll, rocks, or rolls?
I think it rocks.
Rocks?
Yeah.
I mean, do you call clay rocks? Is that why? Or okay, I like rolls. I love carbs. Who doesn't like rolls?
Bread rolls.
Yeah. And then, as usual, the last question I'll send to you telepathically.
Okay, I'm ready to receive it.
I'll send you the question. I'll let you know when it's there. Even though we're telepathic, you'll know when it's there. But our audio listeners, need that information. So I'll send it to you. You can take your time, think about it, and then give me your answer. You ready? Okay, here it comes. And there's your question. So what's your answer?
Impossible Burgers.
Impossible Burgers. Wow. That's a good answer. I never would have expected Impossible Burgers for that question.
What was the question?
Well, you got it telepathically and you answered it right. Right? Yeah. Congratulations. You got every question either right or wrong. Good job.
Thank you.
I hate to say it, though. As I was going to get my children's air dry clay, I noticed that it had been left out and it actually dried out all of the air, creating a perfect vacuum and nothingness, and it disappeared. So I'll make sure to punish. Yes, I'll make sure to punish my children appropriately for creating a miniature black hole in my house. I'm sure it'll be fine. And again, I know nothing about clay, so for all I know, that actually is a real thing. I don't think it is, but that's all I have for today on Fireside Fedi. Osa.
I feel like we covered a lot of ground. That's a lot. I think so.
I think it was. Thank you so much for doing this. I greatly appreciate having you on. I appreciate, the community outreach you do, existing on the Fediverse. Everyone, I had multiple people, as I said, asking to have you on. I'm very humbled that you took the time to talk with me. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for asking. This was fun.
Yeah.
And we need to be adding content, right? Peer team
Yes.
needs more content.
Yes, I
So,
agree.
yeah.
We're all working on it. Hopefully
Yeah.
someday we can all be
Do our
free
part.
of the corporate shackles that bind us at the moment. But and thank you to everyone out there on the Fediverse. Again, even if you're not on Mastodon, if you're not on PeerTube, if you're hearing this, you're a part of the Fediverse and you're helping make a change for societal good, in my opinion. Everyone, please remember to tip your admins, tip your software developers. This stuff, these folks need to make a living somehow so that we can all continue to be free. And just take it easy on yourself. Don't beat yourself up. It's not failure. It's first attempt in learning. We continually push forward and try, and we do our best. Be compassionate, empathetic to yourselves as well as others, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye, everyone.
Bye.